In the communities and ecosystems, we will be discussing further about the ecosystem. If we include the environmental features, including the underlying soil, the water and atmosphere, and surrounding vegetation, so the organisms are interacting with each other and they are making community. Now include these abiotic factors and closely the vegetation which is nearby, all of these things together, and it forms a more complex interactive system that is called ecosystem. So the concept of ecosystem can be applied at various levels. The entire earth can be used as enclosed ecosystem. So ecosystem can be at many levels, and even the whole earth can be seen as an ecosystem which is enclosed. The only thing that is coming from outside is the sunlight. But so can a lake, a forest, or a stream, or even a clump of grass. So you can make the geographical areas small and smaller, and every time you would be able to see the ecosystem. So the ecosystem, there are the two fundamentals which are underlying the ecosystem concept. The one is the energy flow and the other one is the nutrient cycle. So energy flow, as I have already explained, that the sunlight is coming from the outside. So energy is fixed from the solar radiation into chemical form by the green plants and moves through the ecosystem. And the next thing is about the nutrient cycling. So we can classify the organisms in any community in terms of their feeding relationships, which are resulting to the nutrient cycling. In practice, a series of complex feeding webs are usually formed, relating each species to many others, whether as feeder or of food. So they are forming the food chain in which one organism is eating another, and or much more complex form which is called food web, in which you can see the feeder or the food. So here you can see the food web of a tropical rainforest derived from the observation of Regan Wade at El Verde in Puerto Rico. So here you can see the leaves, wood, litter, algae, nectar, fruit, deadwood and detritus. All of these are producers. And as you go up, you would see the decomposers, because these plants will die, and if these plants are eaten by the birds, bats, snails, litter invertebrates, earthworms or termites, these are the first consumers. And then there are the second consumers which are eating the first consumers. The first consumers are primary consumers, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, and ultimately you would be at the consumers which are called the apex communities, right? So which are eating all the other organism and not eaten by any other organism. An example of it is eagle. The eagle cannot be eaten by any other organism. So these are present at the top of the food chain. And then there is the movement of elements as well. So the movement of elements occurs between the ecosystem, and the hydrological cycle plays a major role in both delivering and removing elements to and from ecosystem. So what is hydrological cycle? Hydro means water, so it is water cycle. The water is evaporated from the oceans, it goes out into the clouds, and it comes back to the earth in the form of precipitation, and then it is turned into the rivers, and rivers go back towards the oceans, and meanwhile they are going into the aquifers, underground water, into the soil, nourishing the earth, the soil, and they take much more nutrients with them, and those nutrients are going back into the ocean again. So in this way there is the movement of elements occurs between the ecosystems. And then there is the plants are taking up the nutrients. Their nutrients are continuously replenished by the degradation, gradual degradation, which is called weathering of and that replenish the elements removed by the plants. So then the whole concept of ecosystem involves all the complexity of species interaction within the system, but we use these in relation to the processes in which the ecosystem is engaged, including productivity, energy flow, nutrient cycling, and so on. So the whole ecosystem concept, it is sort of not only discussing about the interaction of species in itself, but also the abiotic factors, just like the energy flow and nutrient cycle. So and it is very useful in assisting in the assistance it provides in understanding the relationship between the organisms and the interaction with the environment, and it also gives us a basis for the rational use of natural resources for the support of human population. So both we have discussed so far the communities and ecosystems and how they are affecting the distribution of organism and across the whole planet, and what are the different factors and why these are the things which are much more important in terms of communities and ecosystems.